Europe is facing what is both an urgent and a massive security problem right now.
Today, history is being written.
As President Trump steps back from supplying weapons and supplying intelligence to Ukraine, there's a real concern here that Europe is going to have to shoulder more of that burden.
We are determined to invest more, to invest better, and to invest faster together.
If you have a look at this graph, you'll see that of the military aid going to Ukraine, nearly half, about 65 billion, came from Europe. Even if Europe fills that gap of money, there are real concerns that it cannot immediately step up when it comes to things like missile systems and advanced technologies. And that's because it's been really reliant on the US for a long time. And if you look at the American side of the graph, you can see a dip in early 2024, which came after Republicans in Congress temporarily halted military aid to Ukraine. And when that freeze happened, we saw critical munition supplies in Ukraine really dwindle. At the same time, during this period, we saw Russia make serious advances. Over time, we have seen America's share of weapons in Ukraine really decrease. And at this point, it's only about 20% of military hardware that is coming from the US. But it's a critical one-fifth that would be really difficult for Europe to quickly replicate. Europe has been in the process of ramping up both its spending on military and its production of things like drones, artillery systems, ammunition, and in fact, nearly enough to supply wartime needs, which is pretty significant for a continent that had really sort of demilitarized in the wake of the Cold War. But what we didn't see is an ability to sort of match some of these really high-tech military needs that are essential to the effort in Ukraine. Yesterday, we saw leaders from across Europe gather in Brussels talking about how to rearm Europe and how to defend the continent.
I present today to the leaders the Rearm Europe plan. It gives the member states possibility to invest in the Ukrainian defense industry.
So Europe is really facing a daunting challenge here. It will be very expensive for them to raise the money that they need to replace the US, and it will also be very difficult for them to abruptly build these capacities. And that is why the US has so many cards to play right now, and why we are still seeing European leaders talking about how to keep the United States at the table and making statements that sound quite conciliatory to President Trump.